Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. Residents of the Federal Capital Territory have been on high security alert following the attack on the Kuje Correctional Facility in Kuje Area Council of the Territory on Tuesday night. Daily Trust reports that invaders had used dynamite to destroy the heavily fortified facility, including the Central Terrorism Unit, freeing all of the terrorists, killing 1 or 5% in some accounts and injuring 3 others. According to the authorities, the attacks was carried out by the Boko Haram terrorist group, and the intention is to free its members who are incarcerated in the facility. It added that although 600 out of the 1,000 inmates in the facility had escaped, 300 have been recaptured, and the remaining 300 are still at large. Earlier, President Muhammadu Buhari has visited the facility to ascertain the level of damage done. Recall also that an advance convoy of President Muhammadu Buhari was attacked on the same Tuesday night in Katsina, the president's home state. The convoy was ambushed on its way to Daura ahead of the president's arrival in the town for the Salah holidays. The attack on the Kuje Correctional Facility has aggravated concerns about the safety of the Federal Capital Territory. To discuss these issues and more, we're joined by Dr. Sani Aliyu, a security and intelligence expert, and also Senator Eroibu, a security consultant and defense correspondent. We also hope to be joined by another retired general, hopefully, to also give us his perspective. But for now, let's take a quick break. We will return shortly. Stay with us.
Every patriotic Nigerian should hear this. Any politician who means well for the people will never allow themselves or their supporters to engage in any violent, destructive activities. No politician who truly wants to serve the people and develop the nation will encourage his followers to destroy properties or take human lives before, during, or after the elections. The Nigerian public must watch out for these traits and isolate any politician who encourages supporters to engage in violence. No genuine politician or patriot will cause trouble and seek to destroy the very society which they aspire to lead or develop. Politicians who have the good of the people at heart will not allow themselves or their followers to engage in violence, destruction of properties, and then taking of lives. Be vigilant. By their words you shall know them. Shun violence. Stay away from politicians who want you to do so. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NORA.
Thank you very much for staying with us on Daily Politics. And today our talking point is deteriorating security situation in Nigeria, with particular reference to 2 major incidences that happened simultaneously on the same day. One in the heart of the city, in the heart of Nigeria's capital, Abuja, talking about Kuje prison break. And of course the attack on President Muhammadu Buhari's advance convoy somewhere in Dutama on their way to Daura. Joining us, just like I said, for this discussions, Dr. Sani Aliyu and Senator Eroibu. Let me start with Dr. Sani Aliyu. Terrorists, about 300 or over 300 on motorbikes can invade the Kuje Correctional Center, highly fortified, within Nigeria's capital, break the prison, carried away, and of course freed, inmates, including 63 terrorists who are being held in that facility. How does it sound to you?
Very sad. Very sad. Indeed, it's the height of irresponsibility. The height of irresponsibility. It's very unfortunate that the president, much earlier, talked about improved intelligence gathering. Improved intelligence gathering. Talking about terrorism, you cannot and we cannot afford as a country to fold our hands waiting for them to attack. There is no any proactive engagement. There is, look, I mean, it's appalling for a country, so to say, the largest black nation in the world, to have such laxity in its operations, security operation, is unbecoming of what we are used to describe as the great African country. It is high time. It is more than high time. It is disheartening. It is heart-rending that today security in Nigeria is failing or has failed. This is a total failure of what we call security architecture. We, as a nation, shouldn't have allowed any of such things to happen, especially when we have this intelligence. A few months back, it was reported, so much, even my organization, we are part of the reporting, that Boko Haram has come to a state in some areas in Niger State. What is the proximity between Niger State and Abuja? And nothing is done about it.
Right. It's not the first time, just like you said, that communities around Abuja, the capital, have been attacked. The other time it was the governor who was raising alarm of the presence of these terrorist groups, some few kilometers away from the city, from the capital city. Senator Ariobu, looking at the situation, President Muhammadu Buhari was at the Kuje Correctional Center, and what he said was damning. Talking about disappointment with the intelligence network or intelligence system. But one thing that the president did not talk about, perhaps limiting it just to the Kuje Correctional Center, there is this notion that security and intelligence architecture in Nigeria is collapsing. What's your take on that?
I wouldn't say it's collapsing, but I would say it's not coordinated. Not coordinated in the sense that I know that our security and intelligence apparatus, they are very efficient when they want to work or giving specific tasks. But what you see is that there's a laissez-faire attitude from the top down to the ranks. And the security agencies don't usually operate effectively in an environment that is not well, their area or scope of operation is not well defined. Because even like my brother noted, the alarm has been ringing about the Boko Haram, getting closer to FCT. What is, the plan of action that the president has given since then? Everything was like, but so every time they come, they issue statement, they hold closed door meeting, those things doesn't, or the president come and start, lamenting. If a president who is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, that is the top #1 chief security officer, is lamenting, what do you expect the ordinary citizens to do? So does such attitude, such posture does not inspire. And right now, you can see that our security and intelligence agencies, sometimes they are confused of what they think they should do. For example, what have been happening in the Northwest and now extending to the North Central have not been well defined. What is actually happening? Who are these people? Are they terrorists? Are they bandits? And what is the plan of action? Just like we have in Northeast, there's an operation, a systemic operation by the state going on. But in the North, what is going on in the Northwest? And
but is it about the identity now? Because
really,
it was established actually that
it's not
those hibernating in those forests of Kaduna, Niger, and perhaps Zamfara are terrorists. Ansaru, for instance, has been identified as one of the groups that operating there. So the issue of identity, some would say, might not just be the
Yes, this identity, if you check, is mostly coming from the security experts and analysts, and maybe the media, and even the civil society. I'm talking of state policy, deliberate state policy, deliberate state response, deliberate state posture towards the terrorists in these places you mentioned now. Compare their response, their attitude towards this area to the effort that is going on in the Northeast that is yielding result. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Now, in addition to such kind of body language that does not really inspire, is the issue of, which I also agree with him, the breach of intelligence in both cases, both in the Katsina case and what happened in Kuje. Because you can't tell me that there must be an insider information for them to really track that such advanced team is coming, and for about 300 terrorists to really converge and know where to station and know which place to really attack and do it successfully and get away. It comes with a high degree of intelligence.
Right.
And now you begin to ask, what happened to the actionable intelligence right from the community level down to the top? And this is where the problem comes in. Right. Our local governance system has really collapsed.
Okay, we'll talk about that. But then, looking at what Senator has just painted, it is evident, perhaps, should I say coincident, or coincidental, perhaps, that 300 number of terrorists will attack a correctional facility in Abuja, that is in Kuje. The same 300 terrorists on motorbikes could attack an advance team of the presidential convoy. Again, the same 300 or so terrorists are also responsible for the train attack between Kaduna and Abuja. That is on the account of one of the negotiators. Tukur Mamu has just said that these 300 terrorists that attacked Kuje facility were actually the 300 terrorists that intercepted and attacked the train. So the question is, how possible is it for this number of terrorists to move around, navigate through these lands, these borders of Kaduna, Abuja, and perhaps Niger or Katsina, carry out this kind of atrocities and killings without being noticed?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's not just 300 persons that are doing this. They are in cells. There are so many cells. They numbered over 5,000 of them. And it's just maybe they assign 300 to go and execute. That's why it's not possible. If you look at the timing of Kuje prison and the president attack, they happen almost within the same period. So they will not be spirit or magician from Kuje prison to disappear and land in Dusama again. So it's just that they have maybe
perhaps
deliberately
cells.
They numbered 300 people to go and lodge because of the number, so that they will be sure of force and they will penetrate what they want. You understand? But I'm telling you, the situation in Nigeria is very disturbing, because Nigeria, as it is today, is the second most terrorized country after Afghanistan in the world. And if you look at serious countries, they already have adopted or created organizations agencies that are mandated constitutionally to handle, to counter terrorism. Today, why we are having default in terms of intelligence reporting, in terms of coordination, is that the Nigerian military, by all intent and purpose, constitutionally, they are mandated to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria and not to counter terrorism. Police, constitutionally.
But is it wrong to drag them into supporting the civil authorities where the situation is beyond their control?
Let's look at what have we. This thing have taken almost 10 years now. It's a war of over 10 years now. Now look at what happened in 2011. 9/11. That's in the U.S. What really happened was that to quell the situation, agencies were drawn, and a particular at a particular point in time, so that they will be able to dance the situation. Immediately, they went into action and created an organization that is mandated to handle this thing. That is the Homeland Security. And then the FBI itself make it its #1 priority not to stay only in the land of US, to follow terrorists anywhere their cell is in the world, to understand their activities and their movement, to counter them before they approach the state of America, to make sure that they did not give them that planning
breathing space,
that planning space to launch.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Now what we are not doing in this country is we really don't have an agency created and mandated by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to counter terrorism. Such agencies should be take the responsibility of actions or inactions. Reports, intelligence reports that have been handling that are actionable intelligence reports that were not taken into proper use will have today been, the government will have that authority or that way. I mean that leeway to call this organization to order. You have failed to participate.
So there's no clear-cut definition as to who should be held responsible. Is that what you're saying?
Nobody is to be held responsible in this.
Okay, Senator. I mean, Doctor is raising some fundamental issues here. Beyond the issue of coordination and, of course, clear-cut definition and policy action. Again, we are also beginning to see, the level of, there's overstay, so to speak, of the military forces in restoring internal order. What he's saying perhaps clearly indicates that the Nigerian military, which primarily, constitutionally, is saddled with the responsibility of defending the territorial integrity of Nigeria, has dominated the homeland security, and perhaps that is also making it war-weary, so to speak. Now they're beginning to, their capacity to deal with the situation is diminishing. And of course, I don't know how you're looking at this. Is it much of a challenge?
Yes, it is. And I know in the past I've really spoken against this anomaly. And I said that, there is a high militarization of Nigerian society. And by design, military are not actually set up to fight crime. If you no issue of counter-terrorism or internal security operation is led by the police, and then other agencies are supporting. So military was actually drafted to play a supportive role. But what you find out over the years, it becomes a pure responsibility of the military. And be as it may, military can go and dislodge enemy from a certain place or environment. But the nitty-gritty, the crime, the criminalities that go on, they are not trained to really nip it. These are where the intelligence agencies and then the police comes into play. Now I begin to ask, okay, why is it not so? Our police over the years has, lost its bite. In fact, it's an agency that's really confused where it stands when it comes to internal security operation. They are not confident, they easily yield their role to the it's a catch-22 situation, because in as much as we don't want the military to perpetuate themselves into this operation, because they are not effective, they cannot give you to do beyond what their capacity is. But still, the police has failed in their own role to actually repel these issues. And now I want to also dwell the issue of lack of coordination, which my senior brother said. Yes, there's lack of coordination, but our Counter-Terrorism Amendment Act 2013 and amended actually domiciled that coordination in the Office of National Security Advisor. And that's where the anomaly comes in. We've seen where the service chiefs have refused to take orders from the National Security Advisor.
Is it the same situation we are facing? That was the complaint earlier, but with the change of guards, some say that must have been addressed. I don't know if that is still what is existing.
It's still an issue, because it's not like, the role of the Office of National Security Advisor is an ad hoc role that is an extension of the presidency. It's not like purely Homeland Security as designed in the US and other. The agency or the ministry that should have played that role, or somehow, is a Ministry of Interior. But still, Ministry of Interior is still bogged down with the lack of identity that police is suffering in this kind of internal security operation. Right now, you don't even know what the role of Ministry of Interior. They are not effective, they are not hands-on. So there's confusion here and
they
there.
are reduced to perhaps issuing
a press statement
with regards to holidays, and I don't know if that exactly is the role.
And it's very unfortunate.
Well, okay, you mentioned something, earlier on with regards to our fighting forces or security agencies being reactive rather than being proactive. They react to the situation. Now, the terrorists, perhaps that attacked Kuje prison must have had enough time to plan. Looking at the number, looking at the capacity, they exhibited in terms of the deadly weapons they use, to break that correctional facility and cut it away or freed their colleagues, 63 of them, those terrorists in the list, and a number of others, were freed without any resistance. And of course, this is a facility that ought to have been marked, as highly a potential target of this nature, because this is not the first time we're having attacks on correctional facilities. There was one recently in Jos. There were several in Kogi and I think other places like that. So why is it that our security agencies are always caught napping?
Well, if you want to look at their handicap properly, is first of all you have to consider so many things. First, this is a country that is over about 215.87 million people in a land space of 923,768 square kilometers, with the police, total military and security force less than 1 million. Nigerian army population just 223,000, police 370,000, and look at this land space. There is no way the army and the police that we have now can procure security for this nation. Nigeria has gone far expanded in population than they can contain. The government has no any other alternative than to create another agency. Look at, let's take...
Is it about agency? Because if the ones we have on ground
they are
not effective and we cannot fund them properly or equip them properly, is it about coming up with another agency?
The issue here is what was responsible for the adoption and creation of civil defense. It is because of critical government installations.
Infrastructure. I think it is clearly defined,
that we are being blown all over the place. We will have said that there was no need to create or to adopt civil defense that time when this is happening, will have equally said that the police and the army should protect all those critical equipment. You see, we must advance. We cannot continue staying in one point. We must advance as a country. If you go 20 years ago, we were about 100 and something million. Now we are 215 million, and you have people that are less than 1 million to procure security for 215 million. It's not possible. That is one aspect. The second aspect is the equipment you are talking about. They are not
properly equipped.
They are not properly equipped, and we refuse to advance in technology.
Okay.
And if we are able to,
I think that's where the emphasis should be, because if we're talking about breakdown of intelligence network, perhaps intelligence might not necessarily do with the boots on ground, but perhaps technology.
Let me tell you, Egypt are only 105 million people. Their total security, their military alone is 800,000. Only military. We are not talking about police. We are not talking about civil, other civil security organizations. We are not talking about their national security organization. Only the military. There are 800,000 people for 105 million people. So what are we not saying? If you put our total manpower together, if you look at, I just mentioned it, the army is 223,000, the police is 370,000, about 500 and something thousand, civil defense they are about 50 something thousand, DSS they are not up to 30,000. So what are we not talking about? All of them they are not up to 800,000. Just the military, only military. In Egypt here, just African country, there are 800,000. So we must wake up.
Okay, so Senator Areobu, looking at the position here, the issue he raised, is it about the number? Some would say our security challenge is beyond the personnel issue. So many things are not gotten right. You earlier talked about even the framework, the policy, the direction, the design, and how we intend to approach these challenges. Perhaps has to do with our national security policy. And again, the conflicting roles, of our security architecture, and the lack of coordination by those that are, and who is actually saddled with what. And why is it that there is difficulty in getting that necessary synergy to execute some of these things? I think we have a complex kind of challenges, not just talking about manpower, but let me get your perspective.
Yes, I think your question is very, very apt, and you are like pricking my thought, because I was going to talk about it before this question comes in. In as much as, yes, manpower is very, very important, I completely agree with Aliu, that we don't have enough manpower vis-a-vis our population and even the geographic space. But more important is thinking beyond physical security. Most time we think that we solve security by training military personnel, police personnel. There are non-kinetic areas of security, which is even more important, which is even the base, the main thing that fuels security. Because I bet you, even if you have 3 million security personnel, and the factors that propel insecurity keep on popping up here and there, they will not be able to except even if you man every household, security personnel to every household, they cannot even be able to be able to solve such issue if there are other aspects of the human security aspect, issue of poverty, economic hardship, political exclusion and marginalization, feeling of despondence. These are factors, health issues when we don't get our development priorities right. So these are factors that bring discontent across the country, because what you find out is that it's just like someone that is afflicted with HIV/AIDS. the person begin to have infectious diseases.
Because
if malaria comes,
because the defense mechanism has been rendered useless or have been weak.
Useless. So you may be applying a kind of cosmetic application to douse the symptom, but the real issue, the diagnosis, the real causative factors is in there. So what you see that maybe 1 or 2 days, if you give a kind of fever suppressing medication, you can cool it 1 or 2 days, and the next day it comes up again.
Right.
That's the issue where until we go to the grassroots, until we begin to check how our governance system, the good governance, how does governance reach to the grassroots? You know, I mentioned the other time about the issue of collapse of governance at the local level.
That's right.
This is where, and that's why we have a lot of ungoverned spaces.
Right.
Okay. And that's why you can have terrorists having 300 bikes driving from one community to another.
Unchecked.
No intelligence, no report, no channel of communication, no early warning system. You know, no coordination from the top to the bottom. So these are some of the issues.
Right.
Until we get it right, we may continue stretching our military, and God forbid, one day they will just give up and, you know.
Unfortunately, I don't think they are trained to give up anyway. But then we are beginning to see the manifestations or the impact of that over, exposure that they have, you know, with the security, internal security situation. A number of security personnel have paid the supreme price. We'll talk about that when we return, vis-a-vis the issue of non-kinetic measures and addressing the root causes of this security situation in our country. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics, and we're looking at deteriorating security situation in Nigeria with Dr. Sani Aliyu, a security and an intelligence expert, and Senator Eroibu, who is a security consultant. We'll take a break. When we return, the discussion continues. Thank you very much for staying with us on Daily Politics, and it's reaching you live from Trust Television here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. And today we're looking at deteriorating security situation in Nigeria, with particular reference to two major incidences that added to the long list of security challenges in the country. The attack on Kuje prison, that is a correctional center here in Abuja, where hundreds of inmates, were freed by terrorists. About 600 of them, freed by terrorists who have had a field day, operating for almost 3 hours unchecked. And of course, the attack by an advance convoy of President Muhammadu Buhari on their way to his hometown in Daura in Katsina State. Dr. Sani Aliyu, before the break, Senator was actually talking about the need or the breakdown, of governance at the grassroots level as one of the causative factors. And then two, the lack of governance presence or dividends of governance or democracy, as it were. There is deficit in virtually everything. Health system is decayed. Poverty is on the rise. People are almost helpless. Hunger is also everywhere, and what have you. So there are serious social challenges that are fueling this crisis. What would you say with regards to the need for the state actors now to also think beyond just the militarization or the military actions, but then look at other aspects of how best to deal with this situation?
Well, it is a very interesting contribution from my brother, and it is true. If you want to look at even the value system, the societal value system, and how the Constitution, whether deliberately or otherwise, by commission or omission, disregarded the role of the traditional rulers. Earlier before now, the traditional rulers are all-inclusive in the security arrangement, such that they profile people before they come to their society, and people that strange faces that come into their society are properly profiled by the community itself. So that is out of...
Well, you talk about the rising number. Then we're talking about maybe a population of 83 million, thereabout. Today we're talking about more than 200 million people.
Yes, yes, indeed. If you go to civilized countries like even Britain here, that profiling is still on. If you go to Israel, that profiling is still on. If you go to US, that profiling is still on. That disconnect of profiling at the societal, at the local government level or at the community level is one of the banes of the problem that we must critically... The other time, I remember about 3-4 years ago, we called for traditional council leaders to come into partnership with Nigerian police to see how they can assist the Nigerian police in giving early warning information and so on and so forth. So that has not been able to properly harnessed. Yes, it's not been properly harnessed, and so that's one again is one problem. And of course, it is true, a hungry man is an angry man, and most of these happenings are within the community, at the community level, and so people cannot even go to their farms again because of fear of being kidnapped or molested or killed.
That is apart from those that have to be forced to pay levies, to pay certain amounts of money for them to access their farms.
And even though they farmed, the better part of the farming is taken away by
the harvest.
The harvest is taken away by the terrorists, and then a little is given out there to them. So we have government and government and another government. So
we're beginning to see, the audacity of even the terrorists to declare, certain areas
as tax regime.
Yes, and then also deciding what happened. Like in Kaduna, one of the communities, and in Bindungwari, where they told the people that they should not get involved in any political activity. No election that is going to take place in that area. They told them clearly. Some elements of Ansaru were said to have intercepted a man on a bike with a poster of a candidate, and then they beat the hell out of him and told them that there is not going to be election here. So they are beginning to carve, some territories that are no-go areas. Senator, looking at this disturbing scenario, the ungoverned spaces, the disconnect among the various strata of the leadership in this society, traditional institutions, the local security arrangement, and what have you. And now we're beginning to see, even the authorities at the top echelon, like President Muhammadu Buhari, for instance, lamenting lack of intelligence. Some say even the intelligence shared with the security agencies is not acted upon. Just recently, today or thereabout, one of the negotiators, I talked about him, Tukur Mamu, who is negotiating the release of these kidnapped passengers on the train that was attacked, did say that he shared the intelligence with the security agencies that the Kuje Correctional Center, facility, will be attacked by this same terrorists. They told him, but nothing has been done.
Yes, we've had these cases of failure to act on actionable intelligence, and that's why questions about sabotage, internal sabotage, keep on popping up, because sometimes you cannot really understand the laxity, you cannot really understand the failure to act. And again, that still also takes me to the top, I'm saying, because the box also starts at the president's table, and that's why he's the commander-in-chief. That's why it was emphasized, president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He was provided with enormous power, with resources to hire and fire. And that's why he has that leverage. If people you put in certain position, because for example, in other more secure country, if there's a lapse, somebody pays the price, somebody bears responsibility, somebody will be punished to serve as a deterrent to others to sit up.
But in this case, the president just lamented that he's frustrated, that he is not satisfied with the intelligence system, and perhaps it stops there.
Yes, this is a president who came openly confessed that he sent his Inspector General of Police to go to a certain state, and he defied him. And he still left the man in the office like that. And some people begin to wonder, what is happening? So when people begin to see, because it's in human nature, they say Nigerians, when they go outside this country, they begin to obey traffic light, they begin to obey, because why? If they dare to disobey, there's a punishment. Even if they didn't see any security, you don't even need security personnel to be physically on ground there. But there are some facilities to track you, and track you right at where you're staying, and serve you the punishment. They can deny your driver license. So when you have all such things in place, that's what keep in check. But yeah, when there's no punishment for misbehavior, when there's so much laissez-faire attitude, then coming down to the issue my brother Sani Ali talked about, the traditional institutions. And that's why when you check, have you asked yourself, how did the British, our colonial masters, who with few men, they were able to successfully govern this huge territory? They applied different systems to different sections of this country that is peculiar to the local needs, environment of such people. So they consider the local perception in their governance system they adopted to each area. And this is what we are lacking here. I keep on emphasizing any time I have this opportunity that Nigeria is only federalist state that have only federation in name, but unitary in practice. Unity security architecture, unitary governance system, because now even the federal one we have, like the local government, has collapsed. Then the state, every time they come begging cap in hand to the federal government, if federal government don't do anything, they are incapacitated. They are just a chief security officer of their state, only in name. And to the extent the governor have the charisma and the sagacity to compel or in good time with the center. If he doesn't, ordinary DPO can disobey the governor.
Right. Okay, Senator is making a case for decentralization of the security architecture, perhaps looking at the expanding nature of the country and the dynamics, the current dynamics, the level of insecurity in the country, and of course, how to deal with it. The center cannot cope, if I understand his position. We have limited number of personnel. We mentioned that. We have an expanded territory and what have you. And then, but the security system is centralized. Now we're beginning to see governors who are helpless, asking their citizens to arm, and defend themselves. Shouldn't this worry us, perhaps to go back to the drawing table, a drawing board, and say, okay, what do we need to do? Do we need to, adopt this decentralization of the security to address this problem? Or what exactly should we do, beyond what we're doing today? We cannot continue to do the same thing and expect a different result.
Absolutely. But there is a little disturbance situation when you look at, he mentioned the word peculiarity, when you look at the peculiarity of Nigeria. And the kind of agitations that are going around the country, where you look at what is happening today, talking about the indigenous security system that was just been tested, as a community security system. You can see the abuse in power. You can see how some of them start killing even their citizens and beheading them and so on and so forth. Nigeria, with our peculiarity, we don't have that capacity, that maturity now to say we are decentralizing our security system, because obviously they will be misused. So, but what we need to do, if you want to liken yourself with other civilized countries, if you look at the FBI in the United States of America, it's not decentralized. It's not. And if you look at homeland security, it's not decentralized. There are certain, if you don't give responsibility to anybody, then nobody takes responsibility. As it is today, the most disturbing aspect of the war against terrorism and banditry in Nigeria is that there is no organization, I insist, that is given that responsibility, that can be held responsible for its inactions and actions. Even when you are talking about actionable intelligence, when you give out actionable intelligence, who do you hold responsible?
But Senator talked about the coordinating officer, talking about the National Security Advisor, whose primary responsibility is to coordinate.
He even mentioned the new Act on Counterterrorism. Act very good. We are the full soldiers. We are the operators. National security is not a commander of any force. He doesn't have any men. He's just a national security advisor sitting there in his office. Who does he control? Who will he assign to go and work somewhere? We just talked about lack of coordination within even the agencies, that they do not, the senator just mentioned that they don't respect his authority. The chiefs don't respect his authority. If he gives out,
but if they don't respect his authority, and then we have a chief,
this is what the National Security Advisor himself lamented. Don't forget.
No, but the point is this: if he is not getting their cooperation and respect, for instance.
Yes.
President Muhammadu Buhari himself talked about, his disappointment with the security, the intelligence system. Now, beyond disappointment, who takes the responsibility? It is clear. It is a clear indictment on the part of those handling the intelligence, network, for instance. So, who takes the responsibility, and what should be done to create deterrence? I think that's what Senator is talking about. Perhaps nothing will happen.
Exactly. Nigeria is a country where there is no punishment when you are an offender. If you steal money, we have seen somebody who stole 80 billion or 150 billion is still sleeping in his house. We have seen the government now freight people that were caught and imprisoned by court because of corruption. They were freed. So it's a country where there is no punitive measures or punishment given. That is what you see. Just take, for instance, in Singapore, a deputy minister was treated to a holiday by a businessman. On his arrival, he was arrested, taken to court, and jailed because they said he was corrupted by that business person. And so, how can another deputy minister or minister allow himself to fall into such traps? So, a state where we are operating and people go, for instance, the 63 Boko Haram that we are afraid today, we are jailed. None of us have heard that they were appeared in court and they were jailed. And so what we know is maybe they were just kept there and they are,
And there's no trace as to where they are heading to or where they are hiding at the moment. Okay, it's about time we have to call it a day. I would have wished to get a last line from Senator. Maybe I'll give you 30 seconds to get your last line very quickly. Let's
quickly. What I want to say, a little bit of clarification. When you're saying decentralized the security sector, it's not about the armed forces of the nation or the intelligence agencies like equivalent of ABI, have DSS. We're talking about the policing system.
Okay.
The policing system. And nature abhors vacuum.
Right.
And if you don't do it, the various details, you already have militia, which I don't subscribe to. So we're having informal militia, self-defense, vigilance.
Taking up that responsibility.
And this is what we are having.
Okay, thank you very much, Senator Eroibo, a security consultant, for your perspectives on the program. Dr. Sani Ali, we appreciate your coming and, of course, your contribution to national development. On their behalf and the technical crew, this is where we have to come to the end of the program. I am Shapiro Suleiman. Thank you for staying with us.